Sendo versus the undefeated world featherweight champion Ricardo Martinez's match is coming soon, and the burning question on the minds of all the Hajime no Ippo fans is what the actual outcome of the fight will be. Will Sendo actually beat Martinez, or will Martinez end up killing Sendo in the ring, leading to Ippo's revenge and comeback to defeat Martinez, as some Hajime no Ippo fans are theorizing. In this video I will explain the likely outcome of the fight, which may or may not surprise you, and how it will play into Ippo's eventual comeback into the ring. In the current manga storyline, Sendo is preparing for his upcoming match with Martinez but lacks a suitable sparring partner to train with. He's growing increasingly anxious because he believes that in his current state he is not good enough to defeat Martinez. As a result, he has developed a new strategy that he wants to use against him but lacks a sparring partner to test it. He is in need of someone even tougher and stronger than himself, someone who can withstand a full round of sparring. Then, at just the right moment, Takamura unexpectedly showed up, seeking a sparring match for the fun of it. Initially, Sendo was against the idea to spar with Takamura, but all it took was Takamura calling him weak that led him to a sparring match. Meanwhile, Miyata had initially arrived to train with Sendo but ended up witnessing the intense sparring session between these two. Sendo was eager to put his new strategy to the test. Unfortunately for him, his opponent was none other than the million points man himself, ultimately trashing him in just one punch. Sendo, despite taking a beating, refused to accept defeat. He caught Takamura off guard by utilizing a smash as a decoy to set up another unexpected smash. Even when Takamura dodged this, he believed he was in the safe zone. However, Sendo managed to land yet another smash from a blind spot. This strategy is one Sendo adopted after observing Wally's fight against Martinez. In a desperate last attempt, Wally had tried to use smashes in a similar fashion to Sendo. However, Martinez skillfully dodged them, where he ultimately revealed his true colors, smiling all savagely and brutally knocking out Wally. Takamura, consumed by anger, wanted to beat the crap out of Sendo after their sparring session, which led to an all-out brawl involving the entire gym. Before Takamura's departure, Miyata sought his insights into Sendo's anti-Martinez strategy. Takamura acknowledged that the strategy could have knocked him out if they were at the same weight class. However, he pointed out that the execution needed refinement and more polishing. This was enough for Miyata to accept Sendo as his training partner for the time being. Consequently, they both embarked on training together. Following their training camp, Miyata confronted Ippo, expressing his doubts about Sendo's chances against Martinez and saying that he can't possibly defeat him. Miyata pointed out that while Sendo's strategy might be effective on the world stage, it wouldn't work against Ricardo. According to Miyata, Martinez represents a perfected version of Miyata's own boxing style. He went on to explain that despite multiple sparring sessions with Sendo, not a single hit landed on his pretty face. In response, Ippo acknowledged the similarities between Miyata and Martinez, particularly their shared fighting spirit. Ippo emphasized that Sendo's punches carried significant power, saying that they hurt a lot even when completely blocked. He proposed that the key to countering Sendo's punches was to avoid them and seize the right opportunities to strike when Sendo's guard was open. Ippo also pointed out that Ricardo wouldn't be satisfied with a decision win, and that he would fight with his heart to secure a victory. So, he suggested that Miyata should adjust his style to resemble Martinez's more closely, while sparring with Sendo to perfect this strategy. Ippo is entirely spot on with his suggestions, as the reason for Martinez and Wally's fight was to prepare Martinez to face Sendo. Martinez needed to face someone as wild as Sendo beforehand to adapt to his style before their actual fight. In his initial battles, Martinez employs his usual strategy, which involves sticking to the basics and adjusting himself to his opponent. He collects sufficient data to pinpoint their weaknesses and gradually exploits them, all the while relying on the fundamental aspects of his boxing. But since he had never faced someone as wild as Sendo before, he needed to warm up with someone potentially wilder than Sendo. Martinez believed that his usual strategy would work again. However, Wally's unpredictability made it impossible for him to stick with the basics. Wally's style also brought out the aggressive side of Martinez, where he was the one actually throwing the heavy punches. This situation proves Ippo's statement to be correct. If Ricardo had wanted to, he could have won the match by relying on points. However, Ricardo's desire is to engage in an all-out battle with someone stronger than him, pleasing the crowd and bringing out the best in his opponents. He wants to face someone stronger than him to confirm to himself that he is not lonely at the mountaintop. We are aware that Sendo's strategy could eventually prove effective against Martinez if he brings out the aggressive side of Martinez. However, the question remains, will it be enough to secure a victory? Ever since the fight was announced, fans have been voicing their doubts, with some even going as far as to speculate that Sendo might not survive the match or that he would be willing to sacrifice everything, including his life, before accepting a loss. As for the theory that Sendo might die in the ring, I believe honestly it's highly unlikely. The alpha, George Morikawa, has not shown a willingness to kill off any of his characters in the ring. While the concept of a boxer being permanently damaged or dying has been raised, it doesn't seem to fit in the current storyline. Ippo initially retired to avoid ending up with brain damage and to lead a healthy life. If he were to witness one of his friends dying in the ring, it would likely leave him with permanent trauma, reinforcing the idea that boxing is a deadly sport. This could lead Ippo to remain retired to prioritize a safe and healthy life, as well as to continue helping his mother with their fishing business. Moreover, it's worth noting that Morikawa had multiple opportunities to introduce such outcomes in the story. An illustrative example is the fight between Mashiba and Sawamura. Both fighters aim to seriously harm each other in the ring, with Mashiba even throwing Sawamura outside the ropes, causing his head to hit the concrete floor. Miraculously, Sawamura survived this without sustaining significant injuries. Later, he was involved in a motorcycle accident with a truck the same night, yet once again miraculously survived. Given these instances, it appears that Morikawa is unlikely to introduce fatal outcomes for his characters in Hajime no Ippo. What's likely to happen is that their match will begin with technical boxing, gradually evolving into an all-out brawl towards the end. Consider this, Sendo has already faced Alfredo Gonzalez, the same fighter Ippo lost to, who essentially follows the same fighting style as Martinez. In just 2 rounds, Gonzalez was forced to switch to an aggressive style because Martinez-inspired technique couldn't cope with Sendo's wild style. The only way to truly hurt Sendo was to land heavy punches. Ricardo was aware of the strategy before facing Sendo and tried a similar approach against Wally, only to realize that it also didn't work. Another development that's likely to occur is that Sendo will become the first character to knock down Martinez. From a narrative perspective, it would make sense at this point in the story to demonstrate that the seemingly invincible Martinez can be defeated with the right strategy, technique and style. However, it's important to note that I don't believe Sendo will ultimately defeat Martinez. The reason for this is that Martinez has been portrayed as the final boss of the story ever since his introduction. This match serves as a pivotal moment for Ippo to consider a return to the world of boxing. Witnessing a former rival capable of going head-to-head with the man Ippo once targeted for years is likely to ignite a small flame within him, compelling him to experience this moment once more. As for how this match is likely to conclude, it's expected to end in an all-out brawl that continues until the very last round. Ultimately, it will result in a decision in which Ricardo emerges as the winner. Both fighters will find satisfaction in the outcome, with Ricardo pleased to have entertained the crowd, and Sendo fulfilled for finally facing the world's strongest man after yearning for it for so long. But what do you think? Will Sendo defeat Ricardo Martinez, or will Ricardo actually kill him in the ring? Leave a comment down below, and if you've enjoyed this video then please leave a like and subscribe for my channel for more Hajime no Ippo content. I am the Reading Crow and thanks for watching.